One thing I did want to get into before we move on to the Ole Miss game, we had a post game show, had some good stuff in there after the LSU game, but going back and kind of rewatching the game a little bit, and then we kind of thought about it a little bit on Saturday night. We talked about some of it, but I thought Florida did a really good job with some tendency breakers against LSU, stuff they'd shown a lot previously this past year through Billy Napier's tenure. And I think a lot of people, one of the big issues people have with this offense is a lot of fans feel like it's predictable. So I thought they did a really good job breaking some tendencies. So I wanted to show like 4 examples of really kind of big tendency breakers that Florida broke out against LSU that were really successful. So I'm going to go ahead and throw up that film now. So the first one, you go back to the first game of the year, right? Florida has a big tendency to run slant to the single receiver. So they'll motion, they'll get in a 4, they'll get in 3, especially when he's to the field. The single receiver to the field they give him room to run the slant a lot. So here you're going to get like a spacing look to the boundary. So you have formation into the boundary, and now you have one receiver to the field, and you're hoping that the safety rotates and you get a one-on-one to throw the slant, right? Florida does it all the time. They played Miami this year. Miami was sitting on the slant and had to drop it off on 3rd and 7 down to the back, right? So against LSU, what do we see early? You see formation into the boundary. You see a single receiver. So Florida's tendency is that this is pretty much the same exact look they just motioned into against Miami. Tendency is to run some type of spacing and run the slant back here, right? That's a big tendency for Florida. If this guy's singled up, he's going to run a slant a lot of times. So what Florida does here instead, slant and go. You can watch here how he's turning out and kind of playing for the slant back here. You get the corner turn and beat him, and then you get a really great throw. So right here, slant, he starts to break on it. He's just turned, not even looking at the quarterback. He's just turned here looking for this thing coming back in. Badger sticks his foot in the ground, gets vertical, and Lagway makes a great throw for a back shoulder. So there's one tendency breaker. You're always throwing slant to the single when you have formation in the boundary. So now you go slant and go, big play for a touchdown. So another one. This is one of Florida's favorite kind of red zone-ish areas, just outside the red zone here. You see it's from the 25. But this is something they've done every year, even here with the motion. So they're going to motion, and then you're going to get like a double crossing route. They love to do this in the red zone or kind of near the red zone. Like I said, here's the 25. So the motion, play action, double crossing routes, right? Richardson takes off and runs here. This is later that year against South Carolina. They ran this against South Carolina for a touchdown last year as well. So this is a concept that you'll see them run a ton when they're down in this area, like the 30, 25-ish in. It's a big kind of play for them. So against LSU, they're a little bit further out, but look, the same kind of look here. Motion, deep crosser. DK runs the crosser, but then actually breaks back out. And you can kind of see how open he gets on this. The ball ends up going to Badger, but just another tendency breaker. So right here, it looks just like the previous play where you got the 2 crossing routes. Then DK breaks back out. Ball's probably, he's definitely an option here. And you can see it even better from the backside here. So the tendency is he's across, he's deep across, and you got him to the flat, right? So you see DK work across, and you see the corner start to peak kind of because he feels like he's going across because he's done that so much. DK breaks out. Could have had either. You have kind of either one. The safety gets turned. Lagway rips a throw to Badger. Another great throw, great contested catch there from Badger. But the tendency breaker was the double crosser here. Then DK does a great job snapping it off there, and you see how wide open he gets. So there's another tendency breaker. This one on second down, we've talked about it a ton, bud. Like second down, second and long, you would have made a lot of money so far if you could just bet run or pass on second down and long in the Billy Napier tenure and just bet run every time. You'd be up quite a bit of cash. So 2nd and 9, 4-point game, 4 minutes left. I think we even got a question about this in the postgame show. Could you believe that Billy let him throw? But 2nd and 9, instead of waiting till 3rd and medium to throw the spacing, they run it here on 2nd and 9. LSU's probably thinking run, stay in this blitz call. Hansen opens wide up. Lagway puts it on him right away. And then you get a first down there. And then here's kind of another one we spoke about on Saturday, that Florida, this is a big tendency to run downhill and run boot this way. He's going to run a corner. But they also have split zone where if he can come and kick out and you're running split zone, right? So a real tendency when the tight end's coming across to run boot or split zone, which either one is happening since Florida only rolls right. They're both happening to the right. So if it was split zone, it'd be happening on this side. If it's boot, he's rolling, he's in the flat, he's in the corner, just like you see here. Opens front sides out, so that's the important thing, right? He opens to it. He doesn't open away and roll. He opens right to it. Here's earlier this year with Lagway. Front side to it. He's coming here. He's going to get the flat. The back's here. So it looks just like boot, looks just like split zone. And then against LSU, he opens to it. Here comes the tight end. Looks just like boot, looks just like split zone, and now flips it back away. Offensive line does a great job pinning and pulling people and kicking guys out, and back does a great job getting up inside. But those were just 4 examples of Florida going totally against normal tendency in the LSU game, and that's something I think a lot of people have been waiting to see, because it does feel at times like a little bit what's going to happen offensively for Florida. So really good job, I thought. I thought they had a really good play on both sides of the ball, but I just wanted to show everybody kind of here's 4 plays that totally break tendency. So good job self-scouting, understanding how LSU may want to kind of jump on those things and play really tendency-driven defensive calls, and they're able to kind of pop some stuff open. So really good job and really good game plan by Florida against LSU there.